Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It is September 24th, 2025, and this is a public planning meeting concerning proposed zoning bylaw amendments pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act. Files C1025, B325, and B425 for 268-4742 Ontario Inc., C19-25, B1-25 Momentum Grain Farms Inc., Emily Helmuth, and C17-24 for 271 Main Street East Inc. My name is Barbara DeBreen, and I'm the Deputy Mayor and Chair of this public planning meeting. Any person or public body is entitled to attend the public meeting and make written or oral submissions in support of or in opposition to any of the proposed zoning bylaw amendments. Written comments should be submitted to the clerk, Holly Melnick. Please be aware that planning reports will be presented to council when the applicable bylaw is presented for consideration at a council meeting. No person or public body shall be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal unless before the bylaw was passed, the person or public body made oral submission at a public meeting or written submissions to the council, or in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. Anyone wishing to file a notice of appeal is encouraged to seek legal advice on your appeal rights given recent changes to the Planning Act because of Bill 185. The first zoning bylaw amendment is file number C10-25, or with regard to B325 and B425 for 268-4742 Ontario Inc. The purpose of the application is to rezone the subject lands to permit semi-detached dwellings on 3 future lots to be established on the subject lands. The lands are also subject to application for consent files B325 and B425. The effect is to allow up to 6 semi-detached on 3 future lots to be created under application for consent files B325 and B425. The location of the subject lands is 271 Doyle Street and 281 Doyle Street. The legal description is Plan 480 Lot 7, Part Lot 6, Doyle North, and Plan 480 Part Lot 5, Part Lot 6, Doyle North, Geographic Township of Dundalk, Township of Southgate. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Thank you. Through the chair, I can confirm that proper notice was given, the sign was posted, and notices were circulated.
Thank you, Holly. I will now ask for our planner to review correspondence received from commenting agencies. Is that you, Victoria?
Yep, that's me.
Good morning.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So comments were received from Historic Saugeen Métis, Enbridge Gas, Grand River Conservation Authority, Township Public Works, and Grey County, all of which had no concerns with the application. Triton Engineering did provide some pre-detailed design comments to be addressed, including some general comments, grading and site drainage, servicing and stormwater management report comments, and some external works comments. And that's all the comments received for this file.
Thank you, Victoria. Are there any questions or discussions from council at this time? Seeing no hands, I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present. Please identify yourself by stating your name for the record. Would you like to make any representation on your application? Can be a yes or no. Yeah, all of 22 minutes.
There you go.
It's a great store, yes.
Yeah.
No sound.
If I'll just remind everyone online, if you can mute your microphones until it's time for you to speak, that would be great. So is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application? Seeing none in the audience, is there anyone online that would like to speak to this application C10-25? Seeing none, Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition to this application? Seeing none in the audience. Anyone online?
Yes.
Thomas, if you could please speak, and I will come to you. This is for C1025 for Doyle Street.
No, okay.
Just want to clarify, this is the file you wish to speak to?
No, not Doyle Street.
Oh, okay, not Doyle Street. I saw Samantha's hand go up. Is it with regard to C1025 on Doyle Street?
I just want to make sure that this is for the townhomes that are being set to be put up by the funeral home.
No, that will come later in this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Just stand by and I will give you that opportunity. Thank you. Are there any questions or further discussion from members of council? Martin?
Yeah, looking over the plans and Van Harten plans and what have you, I don't know if you gentlemen could answer this. It's kind of a technical question, mainly because of the existing two houses. They're on the lots and there's, there's swale on this, swale that way, swale on this way. With the Artemisia and Doyle Street being older roads in town, and now because of the driveways and the flow of water is going right into the one street or the other street, so it's not all over. There was a question at the Committee of Adjustment about the little squares. They were the decks, but these infiltration galleries, and that map would be page 32. It shows at the Artemisia Street on those little squares. Are they the infiltration things for the runoff? Yeah, and would you know?
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt for a
Yeah.
moment. If you're going to respond to the questions, you'll need to be at the microphone. And please direct your comments to staff or
Yeah.
to the applicant.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe those infiltration galleries are for drainage.
And
As per Van Harten's engineering.
yeah,
Yeah.
is anyone from Van Harten up there? Or Ken, would you know anything about those kind of systems?
Through your worship, there is a requirement under the township's engineering standards that all lots have to deal with the drainage that they create. So that would be reviewed through the building permit stage. These are not subject to site plan approval. So I would assume that if the engineers have placed those on the site plan, that's part of the overall drainage system for each building
Okay,
and each
good,
lot.
good.
Which we intend to comply with.
Okay. There were some other questions about drainage, but I think I can ask Van Harten about that actually. Yeah, that's all for me. Thank you very much. Yep.
Are there any other questions from council? Jason?
Was more of a comment, maybe to Ken. I know you guys are, all right. Is this too many units on that size of a, I don't know, I'm just concerned that I mean, I want houses, but is it too many units on that size or you're comfortable with it?
Through your worship, at this point, through you, Madam Chair, I should say, we've done the preliminary assessment of the subdivision, which we recommended at the Committee of Adjustment, and that was approved. We haven't done a full official review of the site plan, so there may be a couple of things that come up. There may be nothing. At this point, just, taking a quick sort of 10,000 foot look, there's nothing that from a setback perspective that's popping to mind. The buildings are sort of a typical size for a smaller 2-story semi-detached. And I always go back to your housing policies, which is you want to encourage a wide range of housing types and sizes to meet a broad spectrum of need. So from that perspective, I think we're quite comfortable. We'll assess it through the building permit stage, and if there's issues, we'll address them as they come up.
Are there any other questions from council at this time? So go ahead, Monica.
Thank you. And again, good morning, everyone. And just through you, Chair. just to the point of Member Rice, um, with regarding the rezoning, I just wanted to confirm if there is sufficient parkland or green space in the neighborhood to support additional residents, because as I mentioned in COFA meeting earlier, was concerning a bit about the parking, making sure you know that the emergency vehicles will be able to get through, and also having six. That number, how did we come to that number? And maybe having four instead. So I know some of those were mentioned there, but for the benefit of those who are on now, I was just wondering if some of those could also be just mentioned again here.
Go ahead, Ken.
Through you, Madam Chair. Maybe I'll start with some of the parking concerns. The bylaw requires one space, so there is a garage that is shown on the site plan along with the driveway, which would remain on private property. So just eyeballing yet again, you could have two cars parked tandemly, which is acceptable under the Planning Act. So it should be a minimal impact to the on-street parking. In terms of parkland, we take at a severance stage fees for parkland, because generally speaking, on these infill projects, to take a park dedication would simply eliminate the project. It would make it completely unviable. So there will be parkland fees that will be put into reserve to assist with overall parkland for the municipality. I'm sorry, I was trying to keep track of all of your questions, but I think I might have missed a few.
Emergency access.
Oh, thank you. For emergency access, these roads are built to municipal standards, so we monitor parking during the winter months because of the winter parking ban. So we deal with vehicles during the winter in terms of warnings and things like that. But we can monitor the situation on the roads to get a sense of if the parking situation is causing some challenges for emergency vehicles, then we can take action through then. But I'm not aware of there being any official complaints at this point. The other thing that this site benefits from, which I think committee also recognized, is the fact that these are through lots because of the fact that there's road frontage to Doyle and to Artemisia. So one of the benefits for emergency management is that if one road happens to be challenged, so if Doyle is challenged, they do have an alternative route, which is kind of a unique situation. Not ideal though to have either route challenged, but we can monitor that.
Just a follow-up, Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Ken. So you just touched on one point there, with regards to the construction. What measures would be taken to minimize construction disruption to surrounding residents? In my mind, it sounds like a bigger project, which is fine. Just wanted to get an idea, just maintaining the neighbors and how much effect will the construction actually have? Do we know?
Through your worship, or through you, Madam Chair, it's hard to say because it depends on how the developers are going to phase, whether they build all of them at the same time or whether they build one semi-detached building at a time. I'm not sure if John wants to chime in on whether we have any provisions to keep construction materials and hoarding of the road, but generally speaking, they should be keeping all of those materials on private property that I'm aware of. I'm not sure if you want to chime in, John.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to store anything on the road itself. It would have to be all in on the private property.
Yeah. So then just to add to that, to you, Counselor, generally construction happens during plus or minus normal business hours. So there would be some impact to the parking on the street while contractors would be there to do the work. But then once they leave, obviously their vehicles would no longer be there. There'd be no impact. So there would be the typical increase in volume during regular business hours when the work is happening. And, potentially if there's a concrete truck that has to come in, if that's needed, there'll be those impacts that are temporary that happen, during a during that portion of the construction, and then they will go home.
And just with regards to the reference plan of survey, that would clearly define the property boundaries. Would that become available? I'm assuming that's something that we would eventually have, and do we know when we would be able to see that?
So through your worship, or through you, Madam Chair, the condition of the severance is that there has to be a register, an R plan that is approved by the secretary of the committee that then is registered to create the lots. And that sits at land titles and is a public document once it's approved and registered.
Thank you.
Joan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ken. I know you touch a lot on the parking. My little bit of concern is because it's townhouses and
Semis.
semi. What if we have two people in the house with cars and then a third person? That's gonna create some problems with parking on the road. I see what happened in Wary with the semi-detached, how it can get during the winter time. So that's just a little bit of a concern. I know, could the driveway be a little bit longer where they could have two cars fitting on there? Then that would be a perfect situation.
So through you, Madam Chair, I would just say at this point that the site plan you're seeing is conceptual. It was not part of the approval, so there will be a permitting process that happens. Keep in mind that the zoning bylaw sets out the minimum standard. We don't have a maximum. And so part of the challenge that we always have, and this is not a challenge that's unique to Southgate, is that when we look at an approval of, for example, a semi-detached, you have a parking space in the garage, and then you have a space for a stall in the driveway. So from the approval authority, the building permit perspective, it meets our standards and it's acceptable. But then when a homeowner moves in, suddenly the garage is not used for a parking space. It's where all the stuff goes, right? So then now you've lost a parking stall. And it's really about understanding that we can only do so much, but we do monitor the impacts on the street. And the key for us at the approval stage is, did they have what was needed, which we always ensure that they do, or likewise, if a variance was needed, then committee would have to make a decision on a variance.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from council? Snow removal and snow storage is always of concern, which compounds parking issues. Anyone, I mean, the developer is from Amaranth, isn't unfamiliar with the types of weather we get. Certainly this past winter was more in tune with what we're used to. And maybe have been spoiled, but snow storage is always a question that I ask about. And to Councillor John's question about whether or not the homes could be set back further to allow more frontage, that will be something that will be addressed at the site plan stage. But yeah, we from time immemorial, we ask the question, where are they going to store the snow? And that's a matter for the developer, I suppose. All right. If there are no other questions from council, then we can move on to the next file. Thank you, gentlemen. The second zoning bylaw amendment is file number C19-25, referencing B1-25 Momentum Grain Farms, Inc., Emily Helmuth. The purpose of the application is to implement conditions of surplus farm severance B1-25 by rezoning 2 farm parcels owned by the applicant to prohibit future residential development. The proposed rezoning would also include new lot frontage and area regulations and address any other deficiencies that may apply to the severed and retained lot under file B1-25 on the subject lands. The effect of the application is to create exceptions to zoning to apply for the severed surplus farm lot and retained lot under B125 and to rezone the retained lot and the applicant's adjacent property to prohibit future residential development. The location of the subject lands is 08570 Southgate Road 08 with no civic address assigned. The legal description is concession 4 West Part Lot 19 and concession 4 East Part Lot 19, geographic Township of Croton, Township of Southgate. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Thank you. Through the chair, I can confirm that notice was given and the sign was posted in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Holly. I'll now ask the planner to review any correspondence received from commenting parties and agencies. Is that you, Victoria?
Yep, that's me again.
Awesome, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so comments were received from Enbridge Gas, Historic Saugeen Métis, and the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, all of which had no concerns regarding the application. Township Public Works Department did request a field farm entrance, and Grey County comments remain unchanged from the comments previously provided during the related consent application B1-25, where staff were unable to support the application and state that the proposed would not meet the intent of the county policies and recommend the remnant agricultural lands be merged with abutting lands to create a farm-sized lot. And that's all the comments received at this time.
Thank you. And I note that because these files are related to Committee of Adjustment, the comments from commenting agencies like Historic Saugeen Métis were included in this file as opposed to attached to the previous file. So that answers my question. We did get notice. Are there, just going to go down my script here. Are there any questions or discussion from council at this time? Okay. I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present, please identify yourself by stating your name for the record. Would you like to make any representation? Hi, Greg.
Good
We
morning.
can hear you loud and clear.
Good.
Go ahead.
I have no comment. I think we discussed this quite in depth in June at the consent hearing, and everything's the same, so no comment from myself.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who would like to submit, make a submission in support of the application? If you're online, you can unmute and state your name for the record. Hearing none. Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition of the application? Hearing none. Are there any questions or further discussion from members of council? Well, seeing no hands, we can move on to the next file. The third zoning bylaw amendment is file number C-1724-271 Main Street East, Inc. The purpose of the application is to rezone the subject lands from a residential type 3 zone to a new residential type 3 zone with a site-specific exception to permit development of townhouses. This is a revised proposal for an application subject to a public planning meeting that was held July 24th, 2024. The effect of the revised proposal and proposed amendment would be to continue the rezoning process to permit development of townhouses. The location of the subject lands is 271 Main Street East. Legal description is Plan 480, Block 0, Part Lot 50, RP16R11367, Part 3, Geographic Village of Dundalk in the Township of Southgate. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Thank you. Through the chair, I can confirm that notice was given, the sign was posted and mailed out in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Holly. I will now ask for our planner to review correspondence received from commenting agencies. Victoria, you're up.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Triton Engineering had comments regarding pre-detailed design advisory that are pending, temporary storage of snow, entrance alignment on site, curb layout for entering and exiting the rear parking area as well. Comments were received from risk management official. They noted that the property falls within the wellhead protection area C for the Dundalk drinking water system. Historic Saugeen Métis, Grand River Conservation Authority, and Enbridge Gas had no concerns with the application. And Grey County note that age-friendly community planning is encouraged, including some adaptable units and also supporting aging in place. County staff also raised concern regarding snow removal and snow storage on site and asked that temporary snow storage locations be indicated. Further clarification is requested also regarding the location of the common amenity area on site, balcony location, rear yards for associated units, planting strip locations, and if there will be access to rear yards through the garage. And that's all comments received at this time.
Thank you. And were there any comments, new comments from members of the public?
None to my knowledge.
Are there any, I'm actually going to suggest that if the applicant is present, if they wanted to make a presentation before I go to council for questions, because a lot of the questions that we might have might be answered by or through the presentation.
Perfect. Is this on?
Yes, I believe it is.
Can you confirm it's working? Perfect. So good morning, members of council, township staff, members of public in attendance. My name's Corey Chisholm. I'm a registered professional planner with MHBC Planning. I'm here this morning with my colleague Opani Mudalige, as well as the owner and applicant for the project, Kale and Reg Barnes. So this is, as the chair noted, this is the second public meeting for this project. We did come in and have a public meeting last summer for the initial proposal. We did receive comments from members of council and the public at that time, as well as from township and agency staff. And we've taken some time with the owner to go through those and contemplate some changes to the proposed development. The amount of changes proposed and with discussions with township staff, we felt necessitated a second public meeting to take place. So we put a brief presentation together. I'll take everyone through that, and then certainly happy to answer any questions or comments that township council or members of the public may have following the presentation. And just as an update for members of the public listening as related to the process, this was a second submission we did. So our next steps following today is we'll take notes on any comments we hear today. We're still receiving comments from different township departments and outside commenting agencies. And our next step after today would be to come in with a resubmission. And what we do is we compile all the different comments we've received into a table and provide detailed responses on any changes we may have made or how we believe those comments or concerns are addressed. So just an overview, this is an aerial of the proposed site, which is 271 Main Street East in Dundalk. And we can see frontage is just over 40 meters, and then we're approximately 62 meters in depth on the property. So just as a recap, on the screen is the layout that was proposed with the first application, and this is what was presented at the first public meeting last summer. So it was at the time 2 blocks of stacked townhouses for a total of 24 units. One thing that's a bit hard to see on this, and we have a rendering in a later slide that shows this better, but the driveways are actually covered by the buildings. So on the ground level, there's a garage and then a driveway in front of the garage, so 2 parking spaces. And those driveways are actually covered as the buildings cantilevered over top of them. Continue. So as I mentioned, there was 24 stacked townhouse dwelling units that would be proposed to be in a condominium. Some of the maintenance, snow removal, lawn care, garbage, those types of things would be addressed through the condominium corporation. The building is proposed to be 3 stories, which is the maximum height that is permitted in the zoning. Each dwelling unit was proposed with 2 tandem parking spaces, one being in the garage, one in the driveway. And then as you saw in the image, the units face onto an internal private drive with the corner units along the main street. Some of the comments we received on the first submission, there were some concerns with the built form and density proposed. There were some concerns noted with the lack of on-site play space, as well as concerns with lack of on-site amenity space, as well as concerns with snow storage operations. So this slide is the revised site layout now proposed. The built form has changed from stacked towns to traditional towns. Still 3 stories in height. The buildings on either side have been broken into 2 separate buildings just to break up that massing. It's similar layout as before with the common private entrance and the covered driveways facing onto that. So again, each unit would have 1 parking space in the garage, 1 in the driveway. We see there's 2 spaces at the back for visitor, 1 being accessible, 1 at a traditional visitor spot. We have the waste collection on the south side. So those would be those earth bins that are largely underground. The condominium would arrange for the private collection of those. And then there is it's labeled in the top right corner on the screen of a tot lot. So in response to some of the comments we heard about lack of play space on the site, we don't have enough space for a full-size playground, but it would be some small play equipment designed for toddlers and young children. And the unit count was reduced from 24 to 20 from the previous concept. I think I went through all those changes on the last slide, so I'll keep going. Yeah, so just a summary of those changes. Again, it changed from the condo stacked to the traditional townhouses. We reduced the unit count by 4, broke up the buildings from 2 into 4 separate buildings. One change is we did increase the interior side yard setbacks. The first application, it was proposed at a reduced setback of 2.5 meters. The zoning bylaw requires 4, and we've pulled the buildings back from the adjacent properties, so they're now at 4.1 meters. Each dwelling unit will now have an individual rear yard amenity space, so the condominium would be structured that the rear yards of each unit, those unit owners have access and use of those. And there would be a door out the back of the garage, so unit owners could access that out the back of their garage. We added the tot lot place space as mentioned, and then the proposed lot coverage with some of these changes was reduced from 53% down to 44%. So this is a rendering the architect prepared of one side of the development. It would be flipped on the other side. And this is a good representation of how those driveways function. So you can see they are covered. This we feel will help with snow storage in the winter as the driveways are naturally covered. We would, through the condominium, require private snow removal arrangements with the local contracting company. And the intent is to, when they come to push the snow to the rear, kind of in front of the garbage area, and then truck it off site. So that we do have the required application to facilitate this is a zoning bylaw amendment. So through the planning justification report, we determined the proposed development does comply with the township's official plan. However, the zoning, we do need a number of site-specific zone provisions to facilitate the development as proposed. So we have revised that from our first application to align with the revised development concept. But some of those site-specific standards include an increased amount of maximum units permitted, increase to lot coverage, a reduced minimum front yard, so that's the setback to the main street, And there is minimum play space and amenity area calculations done. And while we are providing those on sites, we do need a reduction in those from a zoning perspective. So we can see here, the site's currently zoned residential 3. Permitted uses in that zone do include a range, so that's semis, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and townhouses as proposed. And we can see some of the site-specific requests here is the increased maximum number of units, the lot coverage, the reduced front yard setback. We can see here the interior side yard we don't need anymore, as we're now actually exceeding what the zoning minimum is. Minimum play space we're now providing, however, we still need reduction in that, and then similarly the amenity space. So this is a slide showing the Township of Southgate's official plan with the site outlined in red. So we can see the site is within this orange colored area, and that designation is the downtown commercial designation. That designation permits a variety of commercial uses, as well as a wide variety of different forms of housing, with encouragement given to medium and high density developments. So while today I'd say the full vision of that downtown designation isn't realized, the way the policies are structured is over time, it's anticipated that more intensification redevelopment projects, such as this one proposed, will occur in those areas in orange, providing more housing, mix of uses, and density within the downtown. And from a planning perspective, there's a lot of synergies with that approach and that type of location. And we see that type of approach in most municipalities around Ontario is trying to concentrate intensification within and around their downtowns. And obviously that comes with a lot of different amenities and opportunities within walking distance from the units, parks, businesses, jobs, and commercial uses within the downtown. So just the zoomed out aerial of the site, and a few, just based on the location, we can see the proximity to the downtown core of Dundalk within close walking distance. And we do have the large municipal park complex across the street as well in close proximity. With the tot lot proposed, the idea is with younger kids, there's an opportunity for some play space on site, and then with older kids that outgrow that, the site is within close proximity to a lot of different recreational opportunities across the street. So with our resubmission, we did need to update all of the technical documents we submitted with the first application, which takes time, and other members of our consultant team were involved in that. So you can see a list of a wide range of studies that were completed and needed to be updated to reflect the revised development. To date, we have had comments trickling in on the application. Obviously, we'll hear more today from members of council and the public. But some of the concerns we've received relate to potential impact on privacy of neighbors, concern with access to and from the site, concern with snow storage operations, and concern with loss of trees. And I'll just take a moment to briefly go through those. With the first one, with the impact on privacy of neighbors, of course, there's a change of use proposed here. There's the site's been vacant for a while. We're proposing 3-story townhouses. They are permitted in the zoning bylaw, and we are meeting the setback from the adjacent properties. However, it still represents a significant change from what's there today. So we look at, is there ways to mitigate that type of impact? So there is 2-meter privacy board fencing proposed around the perimeter of the site. And again, some of these details, they're not included in zoning. They would be hashed out at the site plan approval stage, which would be the next stage. But some of the strategies we've looked at internally is to provide landscaping along on our side of the fence as well, to provide additional buffering. Our client is here today. They're prepared to offer the direct neighbors some tree plantings on their side of the fence if they're open to that as well. Understanding it is tight between the buildings and the property line. There is, I'll just kind of tying in with the loss of trees comment. There is a number of mature trees on the 271 site today. When you're on the street, it looks like they would be generally around the property line. They are, based on our survey, fully on our property. And those trees will need to be removed to facilitate the proposed development and the grading that needs to take place. So we are proposing to replant trees on our site. However, when you take a mature tree down, you replant, obviously it's not the same size from day one. Our client would be within their rights to remove those trees today as the property owner. They don't want to do that until this is moving forward. But that's some of the discussions we've had related to the trees on the site. We've also talked about implementing frosted glass railings on the balconies and limiting the size of the window openings on the sides facing the neighbors. Moving on to the second bullet, concern with access to and from the site. There was some comments received from township staff on their review of the second submission. So we did run that comment by Crozier Engineering, who's doing the civil and traffic engineering for the project. They have completed a traffic impact study that was refreshed with the revised submission. And that report concludes the traffic is still well within all operational requirements of the existing road network. And one of the comments was if there's someone trying to come out of the site and maybe trying to turn left and has to wait a bit for traffic, some of those first units driveways could be blocked temporarily. So that is something that could occur if timing aligned and a few residents were all leaving at the exact same time. I think that would be limited, but there could be slight delays, and Crozier determined it would be in that kind of worst case scenario, it'd be a maximum of like half a minute to a minute that a person might have to wait in their driveway before they could back out. And that would be just on the ones, kind of the two end units right against the main street. But otherwise, from a sightline perspective and traffic perspective, it's within the requirements. I spoke to snow storage earlier. We feel the covered driveways will certainly assist with that. And then through the condominium, private snow removal will be required. But the nice thing with the condominium corporation is that can be tied to the condominium, and then it becomes a legally binding requirement for them to make sure that functions. And then I spoke with the trees with the privacy comment previous. So with that concludes my presentation, and happy to do my best to answer any comments or questions today. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, stand by. I'm sure there's going to be questions. So I will now ask if there are any questions or discussion from council. Monica, and then Martin.
Hi there. Just through you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. So it does look like the proposed 60.45 square meters common space plus private yards and balconies totaling 586.75 square meters. When we're taking a look at the space that's required. So from what I'm understanding, this means only 54% of the required space is being provided for the amenity space. The concern or question that I would have is that given that the amenity space only provides for 54% of what's required, how will the township ensure the well-being of future residents, especially for families? Essentially, it's very tight and small space.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that through the chair. Certainly, it's acknowledged we're requesting reductions on those amenity space requirements. A few comments from my perspective. The township's official plan is relatively updated, being updated a few years ago. The zoning bylaw is more dated than that. And what we're seeing in municipalities around the area is as the zoning bylaws get updated, some of these standards around kind of medium to higher density forms of development. Most will keep these types of standards in there, but they are generally reduced from the requirements in this current Southgate zoning bylaw. So the amount being proposed isn't out of line with some other similar developments that we've worked on. Some of the other considerations, the unit type is unique. The form of housing in Dundalk, especially around the older part of Dundalk, is predominantly single family homes. Starting to see some other, semis and townhouses in some of the newer subdivisions. So this does represent 20 units of a more unique, smaller product type within the downtown. The units, while they're 3 stories tall, they're about 1,300 square feet of living space. So they are smaller units. And purchasers or potential renters would understand the size of the unit. I mean, obviously anyone could purchase or rent one. But I think from a marketing perspective, we're thinking, empty nesters, people looking to downsize, maybe young professionals that are just don't have kids or maybe just starting to have a young family. And then there is still some space on site, some small backyard space to barbecue or sit outside. We have the tot lot. And then as far as bigger play space, obviously would be relying on municipal parks within the township. And I think that's fairly common with other, apartment buildings and other smaller forms of development, is there's not everybody always has a full-size rear yard on their site. And this type of smaller housing does help with providing an additional option, likely a more affordable option compared to the larger single-family lots and homes within the area.
Chair, I have a follow-up.
Go ahead.
Thank you for that. So just to the point that you mentioned there, I understand I went from 24 units down to 20 units. And this is just an exploration question. Has there been a consideration to even reduce the number of units further to meet the minimum amenity space and coverage standards? Because again, just from looking at the information, this is looking very tight, to say the least, in my overview. So has there been a further consideration to bring even the units down more?
Go ahead.
We haven't looked at that in detail with our client. Since the first submission, we looked at the comments, looked at where we could make some subtle changes that still worked from their business model perspective. As I mentioned in the presentation, the density proposed is permitted within the official plan. It's on the zoning side, which where we need to request that increase.
Okay, thank you.
And yet, Martin.
Yeah, thank you. Corey, we know there's allowable cars per driveway, Planning Act and all that. We've heard about that today. But on the one where it shows all the blocks, there's only one accessible parking and only one visitor. Could there be more of those, at least the visitors, made somehow? Because it looks like you're relying on the fact that there's a food land and another parking space over the road. Or is that a percentage, one visitor, is that a percentage of what there is applied to the actual buildings? Because that could cause problems, people coming across the road on, that's probably one question that's going to be asked by the public. And also snow removal again, being part of a contract with the private company removing snow. Where would the owners have say where that's going to be? Because you just can't put snow anywhere. And the salt, I would hope they would look for a company that would look after the salt. Too much is going to get into the system, stuff like that. So, and also, Corey, the owners are here. I don't know too much about a deep collection waste system. So if you could explain that to me, I would appreciate it. I think the biggest one was the minimum number of visitor parking.
I don't see any.
There's one.
The top right
Oh,
corner,
right.
through the chair, there's 2 spots. Yeah, so thank you for those comments. I'll start from your first one about parking and then work my way down. In the zoning bylaw for townhouses, there's actually no required visitor parking. So the zoning requirement's 2 parking spaces per unit, which we're providing. We have one in the garage, one in the driveway, and the same arrangements made in newer subdivisions with the small size single lane driveway and garages, especially where you have a sidewalk on that side of the road, is even a single family home in certain cases will only have the 2 parking spaces off the road. In this case, we had some extra space and did want to provide some visitor, understanding, well, it's my understanding that on-street parking is not permitted on Main Street or in this section. We're in a subdivision that is, I'm not sure about overnight in the winter. I know in Barrie that's prohibited. Most municipalities prohibit it overnight in the wintertime. So it is a challenge on a tighter site. We've provided those 2 during when it's not prohibited. If there is surplus visitors, I think they'll naturally look at some of the public streets in the area where there is on-street parking permitted and being able to walk over. But that's what I can add to that. I think as the site's laid out now, there isn't opportunity to add more. Like we'd be getting into reducing units to add more parking, if that was the case. The snow, so there is, and typically at site plan approval stage, it's my experience with other kind of call it medium density type projects like this, condominiums, apartment buildings. One of the required documents the engineers produce is called a salt management plan. To that point, and again, it's to try to, you need to use it, but you don't want to use too much and get into the system. And that ultimately gets appended to the site plan agreement and the condominium. So it does become a binding document, and that would ultimately be provided to the contractor. I think I mentioned in the presentation, but the intent is when they come, they would push the snow away from Main Street to the back and likely in front of the waste bins until they've cleared it and then load it up to take it out. And that could obviously be coordinated with the timing that the waste would get picked up, once or twice a week, that would occur. The garbage bins, starting to see them in some newer developments. I believe the McDonald's may actually implement them if I'm not mistaken. But they're tend to be a circular kind of drum. And instead of having a big giant dumpster above grade, most of it's underground in a big kind of hidden in a big steel kind of box. So the trucks that come and pick them up, they are specialized. They have this small crane arm that scoops them up and dumps them into their bed and then puts them back in. I think the new McDonald's has them. Some of the other McDonald's that are newer I've worked on certainly do.
Some schools have had them.
Okay, I wasn't aware of
as
that,
well.
but
Thank you. And
Microphone.
I was just scrolling down and I did see Crozier actually did a salt and risk management plan. So thank you for your answer to my question and the fact that it's right on that site too. So thank you very much.
Joan.
Thank you, Madam. I'll just ask this question first. You just spoke about the new kind of garbage bin. So would we need a different kind of truck to pick that up?
yeah, so good question. It wouldn't be municipally waste collection. So again, it would be on the condominium through the condo fees that the private waste collection would come and collect it.
So are these condos for rent or for sale, or it's both?
So they would be for sale, but for example, if anyone here were to buy one, then it's their prerogative if they live there or if they rent it out. No different from any other house or condo.
Okay, I'll piggyback a little bit on what Councillor Singh Soares says about the number of units. I still think that it's a lot for that area, but I know you're just in the stages of putting things together. Thank you.
Jason,
Yes,
just,
yeah,
just hang on a second,
Yeah.
just to let people online, we're gonna be getting to the in support of and opposition to. I just want to let everyone online know that we're going through council at this time, and then we'll move into the public option. Just, okay? Go ahead, Jason. Thank you for that.
I guess my concerns with the development, we have a lot of development in Dundalk, as everyone knows. To me, it's not the place for the development like that. I think we take pride in our our older parts of town where the houses were semi-detached, family dwellings. Just to me, if you're going to put 3 or 4 there, I'd probably be okay with it. But as everybody else has stated, it just seems too tight, and to have these big tall buildings there with, we got to preserve a bit of what our downtown looked like before, I think. So just a concern I have, and snow removal as well, as everybody else has touched on, but it's just too tight. And to me, it's not the spot for it. I get what you guys, you developers I'm all for free market, but to me, it's just too tight, and the wrong type of housing for that area it's just an opinion comment.
Okay. Are there any other comments at this time? I had a number from the chair then, feeding off of some of these questions. As a 1,300 square foot unit condominium for sale, claiming that these are going to be more affordable units, what is the price point anticipated? And what would be the condo fees?
So at this stage, we don't have that determined. I can say they would be whatever the market price for that type of unit would be at the time.
Okay.
We're likely a couple years out before they would be able, we have to get through site plan approval if we're successful with the zoning process. I think it's no surprise the market today is quite down. We're not seeing subdivisions in any municipalities I'm working around Simcoe County. Most sales offices aren't open, so I think at this moment it's not. It's hard to forecast what in a year or two what the market conditions would be like, but typically the price correlates with the size of the unit and the footprint. So I would say I suspect they would be cheaper than the freehold singles or townhouses you're seeing, and some of the other subdivisions, just based on they're smaller. You've got less yard, less space.
Your first comment, undetermined at this time, was
Yeah.
is basically what you're saying.
Yep.
So the traffic coming and going, I think you're underestimating 1,300 square feet. It's still a young family might be living, 2 people working, having to drive to, from, or even a parent leaving to take their children to school. And I think your traffic comings and goings is underestimated. The I have to echo our council's comments about the number of units. If we were concerned 8 years ago that 6 townhouses was too much, how then can we justify, through drainage and shadowing and all of those other concerns, 20 units? The county has expressed a desire for, a diversity of housing, and yes, we're working toward that. How does this address age friendly? If there's 3 stories, you park your car, you walk upstairs to one level, then you walk upstairs to another level. I don't see aging in place, that being conducive to, seniors downsizing from their bungalow or their larger home to take advantage of this unit. I appreciate the look of them and the addition of the small play space. Visitor parking is of grave concern, and the parking spaces, I don't know if you live in the area or in rural Ontario, but there won't be a pickup truck going in that spot. or that garage. And food land is private property. Just saying that that's not municipal parking. So I hope that, you know, people who are developing the developers, your gentlemen, with all due respect, can't rely on off-street, on a main drag county road, where there's horse and buggy traffic, trucks, buses in that area. There's a peninsula in that area. So there's a lot to go into this consideration. Snow storage, I appreciate you're going to take it off. If the county doesn't want the water to go to the county road, where's the water going to go? Better not be going to the surrounding properties. And as far as tree removal, I don't know about the rest of council, but I fielded a number of calls from residents who were upset that the mature trees had already been removed. So, and appreciate that's their prerogative, it's their property. So I think I'll leave those comments there for now. I'm concerned about shadowing and all that others. I see Councillor Singh Soares has her hand up, and then I'm going to move to the public.
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, just to add to those comments, just with regards to overall fit as well, and to Councillor Rice comment as well. I do see that the site does seem better suited to a smaller scale development, such as like semi-detached or fourplex units, or phased in approach with more green space per phase. It still feels a bit overbuilt and can also possibly, from my perspective, set a negative precedent for future proposals. Yes, again, with the parking and traffic concerns, if parking is not adequately provided, it will spill onto Main Street. And we have to assume, I guess, in taking a educated guess, that if there's going to be at least 2 people, there'll be 2 cars. That's 40 cars that would be in that spot at 20 units. One of the other things was with regards to setbacks for very tight clearances. So my understanding is that the required side yard is 2.51 meters. The proposed is 2.37 meters, which is just barely below the minimum, which could limit privacy for neighbors, restrict emergency vehicles accesses, increase fire safety concerns. And then even with the front yard revised to 4.1 meters, the minimum required is 7.5. This is almost half the standard and may cause parking overflow in a cramped streetscape. So I do understand the mandate from the provincial government, build home faster and have more diversity in housing and all of those things, but not one shoe fits all. It is a rural community. There is a lot that still needs to be completed for other projects. And I just concerned that we're taking more on and more and more and more when we really got to be thoughtful. And just to the previous comments about the school, something happens, even with the construction, school bus, I don't know, it's just wanted to add that if there's anything I mentioned that you could speak to at this moment, but those are some of my additional comments for this public meeting.
Can I just add a couple points?
Go
So,
ahead.
and just one item on that you mentioned, Chair, and then I'll respond to one comment from the councillor. On the drainage, we can't direct drainage onto the neighbors' properties. That's a requirement, and I'm not an engineer, but the way they've designed it, and I know you township's engineers review it and need to sign off on it, but it would need to be directed with treatment on site and then to the right of way. And the county is obviously involved with that review process as well. So just wanted to clarify that. And then just with the Councillor Singh Soares' comments, just wanted to clarify, speaking to the setbacks, it's the way you referred to them were flipped from the front and the sides. So it's the sides with the neighbors are at 4.1. On this screen, it'd be at the top and bottom, and then it's the lesser one is the front yard, which is to Main Street. So appreciate the comments. I suspect the concerns still stand, but just wanted to clarify that point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I do want to remind everyone that, you know, no decision is being made or has been made with regard to this proposal at this time. So this is our opportunity to get our questions and concerns on the table. Holly, you mentioned there were individuals who had pre-registered, so we'll go to those first.
Thank you through the chair. The first person that registered with the clerk's department was Donalou Langdon.
Donalou, are you on the line? There you
Yes,
are.
I am.
If you could just state your name and address for the record.
The name is Donalou Langdon, and I'm the owner of the 261 Main Street. And is that all I had to say?
Nope, you carry on now. Thank you very much.
Okay. First of all, I really appreciate, I think it was Monica, yeah, great sum up of a lot of things that I have my concerns about. The first one was a number of years ago, a sixplex apartment was disallowed. And I think that makes sense. The same rules and reasons should still apply. If 6 units were not appropriate, 20 units are even less suitable. So allowing 20 units now would be unfair to even the previous owner, which probably sold the property because they couldn't do that, and who may have been denied the smaller project. The overcrowding, I think everybody has said that. You know, I don't know whether these people have not lived in this area to realize what it's really like there. The property size, the lots are large enough for 20 units, or the lot is not large enough for 20 units. Even 6 units were considered too much before. You've gone through snow removal, garbage and stuff like that, and I can see that you're making some improvement, but I don't think people really realize what snow removal is in the Dundalk area. There's also, I don't know whether you've covered environmental runoff that well, because in the spring, it is an issue. I don't know, you know, everything floods in the spring big time. So that could be a problem that you haven't really gone into too much depth about. I'm just trying to think if there's anything. Okay, you mentioned how pulling out of the area, out of the condo unit would be a challenge. You can't even see what's going on. The traffic there is phenomenal in the morning. Everybody's leaving at the same time. Everybody's coming home at the same time. If you have apartment buildings that close to the road, I don't even know how you could see past the building to know how to get out. It really is an issue there. I'm just trying. If each household has 2 cars, potentially 40 vehicles for 20 units, that's crazy. That's just, I don't know. The road is a main road. It's very, very busy, and cars and trucks moving quickly. Increased traffic raises a risk, as you mentioned, for children playing. But the other thing is, too, there's a lot of seniors in that area. First of all, the apartment buildings would not be appropriate for seniors because they've got all the stairs. So it's not helping to give something for, you know, seniors. Plus the walking of up and down that street. If you take away the parking for the funeral home and the church, that's really affecting a lot of them. They can't park somewhere else and walk to the church, or they can't park somewhere else and walk to the funeral home. As we know, every kid's going to go run into the swimming pool, and that's going to be an issue. I think I've covered that. It's the high density complex is not consistent with the existing residential area. Previous council decisions should be respected to maintain consistency and fairness. You maybe want people to move into the community, but you want a decent community for them to move into. Council previously decided that even a 6-plex building was not appropriate for this property. The reason behind this decision have not changed. I don't know how many people are still on council that was there at the time, but it wasn't that long ago. The lot is still too small. The road is still even busier now, and parking is still limited. Allowing 20 units here would not only go against that precedent, but it also creates serious traffic, parking, safety issues for families and children in the area, as well as environmental problems. I respectfully ask council to apply the same standards as before and deny this proposal. I'm strongly against changing the variance. I am not against appropriate size units. I think it would probably be good to have something there, but not to this extent. The density, and it's just way too crowded. And I think I've covered everything. But I do appreciate that some of the changes that they have made that seem to be corresponding to what we've said. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. I just want to, if you want to address any of the questions or concerns, or just take note and comment.
Yeah, I think a lot of those were echoed by members of council earlier. Just the one on runoff, that's certainly something that the engineers have to consider, and I know it's reviewed by the township, so just a reminder on that one.
Right. So I'm going to actually go back to my script because I'm supposed to ask if anyone is present who would like to make a submission in support of the application. Okay, I hear none. Okay, so I'll go back to Holly for pre-registered members of the public who wish to speak on this application.
Thank you. Through the chair, the next individual was Thomas Roeder. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly.
Thomas, if you'd like to unmute, state your name and address for the record. Where'd he go? Did we lose him? Thomas, are you still there? If we have lost Thomas, hopefully he will log back in. Maybe we can come back. See the box. Thomas, if you can hear us, can you do a thumbs up or raise your hand, your virtual hand? Okay. We will move on to the next individual. Thomas, if you can hear us, you might need to log back in and reconnect. We did have you audio previously, but it's not working now. Holly, who's the next person who's registered?
There is no one else registered at this time, but I do see others online, so I think we can move to them.
Yes. So I will go first to Samantha. If you could unmute, state your name and address for the record, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having everyone on today. I appreciate it very much as a member of the public in Dundalk and being here the last year and a half. This is quite the discussion today. My property is at 351 Main Street East, and I'm about 3 doors down from where this proposed townhouse complex is supposed to sit. I echo everything that has been said thus far, from congestion to waste management, water management, but there also is a major concern here when it comes to safety. We are on a main drag, as that was echoed multiple times. Foodland is also private property. You see multiple people on a daily basis crossing the road, trying to jump in between cars. This is a massive safety concern, especially if you're going to be targeting families to be living there, elderly, seniors. They cannot be crossing the main street without any sort of safety regulation around that. And they will be. There is a park across the street, there is a pool across the street, and the only amenities for them are going to be Foodland and the convenience store. To then also jump on to the next point about amenities in the township itself, the first thing that needs to be focused on is businesses being built in the area. There is not enough infrastructure nor businesses within Dundalk to be able to properly service probably close to 100 extra people coming in. So this is a massive disappointment, and I'll be very honest with that. I am all for the town growing. I am the first one to speak up when it comes to new businesses in the area or any sort of new development that makes sense, but also any sort of events or recreational activities. But if you're coming in with a high density 20 stacked townhome complex, you are only going to wreak havoc on this main street here. Not to mention all the trucks that come through, safety for our Mennonite community who we need to look after, safety for children, safety for seniors. There's a real lack in thinking about what's going to happen to the town and to the people who currently live in it. I also want to make a point here that I did move about a year and a half ago to Dundalk to have a more serene lifestyle. The traffic congestion is going to be awful. We will not be able to get out of our driveways on Main Street. There's going to be lines of cars in front of our homes the entire time. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to look at that on a daily basis. Townhouse complex, they also do bring in higher crime rates. And I'm saying a lot with that, and people may disagree with me, but I've seen it happen time and time again in subdivisions and communities where high density homes are put in. The crime rates will go up. And that's going to put a massive surge on our emergency services, which in reality, we do not have enough OPP officers in the area should something happen, not to mention our fire department, who's severely lacking right now with having their volunteer firefighters coming on board and those who have already left. This needs to be thought about. So once again, I 100% echo everybody's comments on here. I'm absolutely thrilled that Dundalk is looking to grow, but this is the wrong direction to take it in. And living 3 doors down from there, this is going to make a severe impact on myself, my neighbors in the community, with the construction noise, with the management of people coming in and out, traffic and safety. So with all due respect, I completely oppose this townhome complex coming in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samantha. And just a reminder, no decision is being made today, so all of the comments will be taken under consideration. I see, Thomas, you are back online. I'm wondering if you are able to unmute at this time.
Yes, I have.
Awesome. Thank you. If you could just state your name and address for the record, that'd be great. And welcome.
Thomas Roeder of 261 Main Street East.
Go ahead.
All right. Great discussion today. A lot of people, including Donna Lou and Sam, brought up some really good points, which have been checked off my list that they've now been addressed. But I also just want to echo on the fact that, for the children that are going to be in these units, if you kind of do a quick math of 20 units, 2 couples, that's 40 people. Each one of them have 2 children, that's 80 people. If they had 4 children, that's 120 people in those units. There's been no talk about a crosswalk, as many have also mentioned with the tractor and the truck traffic that comes through Main Street, which I think something else that council has to deal with, not speed cameras like Shelburne, but the speeding has just been ridiculous on this road. It is quite calm at nighttime after 9 o'clock, but during the day, there's sometimes that I have to do a 3-point turn on my driveway just so that I could get out. Like it's just ridiculous, living on Main Street. So I don't know what the solution is here, but if you have children going across the street to the rec center or people walking to the food line, somebody's going to get killed. That's all I can tell you right now. This project might have something to do with Ontario to satisfy, the affordable housing issue. But I'll tell you right now, as somebody mentioned earlier, it's not going to be the retired community that's moving into these units because, they're going to have lower legs like Arnold Schwarzenegger going up and down these stairs in these townhouses, with their bad knees and their hip replacements. There's no way that they're going to be living in these homes. I totally see, 5 or 6 townhouses being built. I agree with Donna Lewis. She mentioned that the previous owner was shot down when he had originally council had approved 5 units. Then when he requested 6, he was denied. So that was just kind of strange how council can go from 5 townhouses to 20. Also, nobody's talked too much about the power issues. I know Brenda over at the funeral home her and I have had multiple discussions regarding water and hydro. I know that since the hydro's been upgraded, she's had multiple problems with her funeral home and her, I think it's a triplex unit, a rental home that's adjacent to the funeral home, that they've had all kinds of power issues. And I also she sent me some here too that Jim Ellis had mentioned. He's, for everyone on the line, is part of the Public Works Department at Southgate. He said the water service will not be sufficient for this size of complex. So does that mean our road is going to be all ripped up again so that they can increase the size of the feed line to be able to provide water to all these units? You know, there's a lot of things that haven't been discussed or considered that I know of from the builder. Construction material, how's that going to affect my property? Whereas they take, you know, the course of a year on building these units, trucks, you know, showing up at 6:30 in the morning. I'm 61 years old. I don't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're showing up at 6:30 because they're going to drop off a skid of 2x2 or 2x4s or, you know, 6x10s or whatever, you know, materials that are required for the unit. It's going to be a disaster, not to mention the dirt and the noise and everything else that goes around the construction. I like the beautitude of Dundalk. I like the older homes. If you drive through Oakville today, I don't know if Oakville is sold or sold to the devil, but when you drive through, you see the ambiance of the older homes in Oakville. And then every 6th or 10th house, there's a new Franklin Lloyd Wright type home that it's like this continental type of home that's set inside this old neighborhood. I don't get it. It's going to be an eyesore here as well. And that's kind of the draw to Dundalk, where they're trying to, I know, you know, we see the posts, they're trying to revitalize Proton Street with the old units, trying to bring businesses in. Look at our poor coffee shop, George, at the Golden Spoon. He didn't even last a year there. So I don't know, you know, we have 3 pizza places in Dundalk. So clearly pizza is a staple requirement in Dundalk. But I'll tell you right now, and it's been my own observation, that all these people that are dwelling on the west side and the east side in the new subdivisions don't spend a nickel in Dundalk. They're all driving back to Brampton, you know, so, and that's what we're seeing now. If you drive through the subdivision, you know, you see almost every 4th or 6th home that's up for lease or for sale because people are moving back to Brampton because there's no amenities here, you know, like Samantha mentioned. So how's this going to affect the resale value? How's this going to affect the resale value for, you know, Brenda's place or this home if it gets sold? And nobody even mentioned the fact that if Brenda has a funeral that's booked on a particular day, when Sam said, you know, backing out or getting out of her driveway at 351 Main Street, there's no way in hell anybody's going to be getting out of that subdivision in a hurry when there's all these cars parked on the south side of Main Street, which is legal, by the way, for Brenda's operation. But, you know, that's something else that nobody else has kind of considered. So I don't know, you know, I know this is a hearing, no decisions being made today. But council really has to take a lot of things into consideration. And the biggest question I have, as Donna Lou mentioned, was how did the city allow 5 townhouses, then denied this old guy's claim for 6, no disrespect, he's an elderly man, he was in his 80s, to build 6 townhouses, and all of a sudden now we're going to put 20 on the same postage stamp? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. And again, council has not made a decision in this matter. This is why we're having a public meeting. We too are hearing all of the concerns, the presentation from the developer, their planner. All of that has to be taken into consideration. So thank you for your input. Is there anyone else online that wants to speak to any of those comments, questions, concerns? I know Jim Ellis is on the line. When he was Public Works Manager, perhaps he was speaking about the water servicing at that time, but Main Street has since been upgraded. Not sure that's something that can be taken back for advisement. and response. Is there anyone else online that would like to speak to this file? Okay, I don't see any others. I can appreciate the comments from our residents about, there being a lack of business and services to accommodate. I did get a comment from a resident. It's like, why aren't you considering a commercial enterprise at this facility to complement Foodland or a Giant Tiger? But this is a residential lot and we're looking at a rezoning. I'll go back to the script. Is there anyone present? Are there any questions or further discussion from members of council? Jason.
Well, just get his name now, Thomas's point. I don't know, John's on the line there about the water. Do we have lots of water allotment down there now? I know we've redone the,
Well,
that'd be a good question.
until this would be approved,
Oh, no,
they
I'm
would
just-
still have to come back for the water and wastewater capacity, assigning that capacity. But John, go ahead.
Fortunately, Jason, I'm not the right man to ask that question too. The water stuff's kind of out of my wheelhouse. I can check with Corey on that to see when we did redo the water main there, if the servicing was increased or not. But I see Jim just got his camera going there too, so he might be able to answer better.
Thank you. Jim Ellis, our CAO. Go ahead, Jim.
Morning, good people. I'd have to look back. I don't recall for sure, but this size of complex would definitely require a bigger water service feed off the main. So whether that currently, I can't recall if it was installed at a 2-inch, but it could happen to be a 4 or 6 that's required for servicing this complex. That would be identified in the servicing study for the project.
Thank you. And through the chair, from the chair, with regard to capacity, is this considered an infill? So yeah, that's a lot of units for an infill. That'd be like 10 residential units putting in a accessory dwelling. Okay. All right. Any other questions, Martin?
Thank you, Chair. I guess this is for John or Jim. I was just with everybody talking about the environment, and I asked a question about the salt manager, which Crozier did. Looking at the source protection mapping, it has the little tag for the lot in question as a C or a C1. So what exactly does that mean as far as the well protection? It's getting closer and closer, right? So Jim, if you could answer that.
Yeah, so the wellhead protection C is would have to do mainly with Dean apples and the control of them, and that's basically what that's all about. They'd be prohibited or restricted, but a residential use like this shouldn't have those type of chemicals involved with normal operations of residential.
Thank you, Jim. And I'll note that on the website, there is a risk management response, and it says it falls within the score of 2 for the Dundalk drinking water system. As such, the storage of certain chemicals greater than 25 liters associated with woodworking and metal degreasers, for example, would be regulated, and that would be through an education system or an education program to the tenants or occupants of the units, and then enforced by the municipality. Any other questions? All right. Did you want to make any further comments or address any of the concerns, questions that were just posed? Corey?
I think just I guess in conclusion, lots of comments today. Took lots of notes. I know my colleagues have as well. So we'll definitely take those back and regroup following this, and then reach back out to the township on next steps. some of the comments that were made just kind of at a broader, more Dundalk wide level about maybe lack of commercial space, lack of amenities. These are, you know, I don't, I've spent a lot of time here. I don't live here, but these are types of challenges I think most communities face as they start to grow. Some maybe more than others. But from a planning perspective, concentrating new development and density in the downtown, it doesn't change overnight, but generally as things evolve and you get more people living within walking distance of the downtown, it is one way through planning that we can try to encourage new commercial type uses opening up in downtown areas, as they tend to have a more readily available customer base within close proximity. So it's a challenge. I think downtowns in a lot of places across Ontario, you know, as malls and big box stores came, they've had challenges, but generally the direction is through intensification in the downtown, trying to help swing things back to promote healthy downtowns as well. So that's just a broad statement, but you know, coming back, the official plan does contemplate this type of development, and I know it would be probably the first one of this type to come along. A lot of those houses that are in that mapping are single family homes today, but over time, based on the policies, others could start to kind of redevelop as well. So I'll just leave it there. Took lots of notes, and we'll take that back. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Corey, and thank you all for being here. There's a written comment on the screen. I cannot read it. Samantha, did you want one final? I'm sorry, I can't read your note on the screen.
No, the only thing I was saying, as much as I do appreciate the fact that you have to start somewhere, we as a community first need to take care of the current residents and current businesses prior to bringing in high density homes it'll take some time for it to get to that point that we wanted to, but yeah, that's my last comment on here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public meeting for today. Thank you all.